When we think of the empires running the modern internet, the names are usually highly visible: Apple, Google, Microsoft. Yet there is a trillion-dollar titan operating right alongside them, mostly in the shadows. It's called Tencent. You might not see their logo on your phone, but they own 100% of Riot Games, 40% of Epic Games, and hold massive stakes in platforms like Reddit, Spotify, and Tesla. But this massive, sprawling empire was actually born from what appeared at the time to be a terrible financial decision made in the late 90s. To understand who actually controls the modern internet, we have to reverse engineer the anatomy of a $32 million bet that the rest of the market thought was financial suicide. In the late 90s, a quiet, introverted coder named Pony Ma wanted to build a business, but he lacked a visionary original idea. Instead, he found an American instant messaging service called OICQ and decided to build a direct copy for the Chinese market. He named his version OICQ, simply slapping an O on the front of the original brand. The operation was entirely bare bones. Ma and his team set up shop in a cheap, noisy neighborhood, renting a tiny office, bizarrely decorated with a disco ball hanging from the ceiling. The app gained almost zero traction at launch. The chat rooms were so empty that Pony Ma had to create fake profiles, pretend to be a female user, and chat with the few people who did sign up just to keep them from getting bored and leaving. Eventually, they attracted users, but that only accelerated the crisis. OICQ made absolutely no money, while the costs for their physical servers in China skyrocketed. The global .com bubble was collapsing, and the American media giant AOL threatened them with an intellectual property lawsuit, forcing a panicked rebrand to the name QQ. They were bleeding cash and drowning in legal threats. When Pony Ma desperately tried to sell the platform to stop the bleeding, venture capitalists took one look at the legally threatened, cash-burning copycat and concluded the company was completely unsellable. Traditional venture capital funding had completely dried up. But a relatively unknown South African media company called Naspers was actively looking for international opportunities. Where the rest of the market saw a financial black hole, Naspers noticed something else. They saw Chinese internet cafes packed edge to edge with young people, entirely engrossed in the rebranded QQ chat app. The user base was growing virally. Relying heavily on that engagement metric, Naspers took a massive swing. They handed Pony Ma a $32 million check, instantly becoming Tencent's largest shareholder. That specific cash injection didn't buy a finished, profitable product. It bought the startup exactly enough runway to settle its legal disputes, keep the servers running, and finally figure out a business model. The survival of the company ultimately hinged on a new revenue strategy. Tencent started offering users the ability to buy digital outfits, hairstyles, and accessories to customize their online chat avatars. This diagram illustrates the unit economics of early microtransactions. Charging a fraction of a cent for a digital hat seems insignificant on an individual level, but the math changes at scale. Across hundreds of millions of users, these pennies accumulate into a flood of cash. Tencent took this massive new cash flow and systematically pushed into the gaming industry. Then they developed WeChat, scaling beyond basic chat to create a single platform where 1.4 billion people pay bills, order food, and run their lives. This stream of small digital payments gave a desperate chat clone the capital it needed to become China's digital infrastructure. With absolute financial dominance secured at home, Tencent aimed outward. They used their domestic wealth to go on a global shopping spree, acquiring infrastructure across the Western digital landscape. This web maps out the resulting global ecosystem. Sitting at the center, Tencent's capital flows outward to secure outright ownership or heavy influence over massive platforms, from gaming titans like Riot and Epic to cultural hubs like Reddit and Spotify. Because they funded the company at its absolute lowest point, Naspers' $32 million lifeline ultimately secured what is widely considered the highest venture capital return in the history of investing. But absolute control over an entire digital ecosystem carries heavy consequences. Operating with unchecked capital, the company frequently deploys aggressive monopolistic tactics, systematically starving out or acquiring any regional competitor that threatens their market share. More troublingly, managing the complete digital lives of over 1 billion citizens requires a staggering level of data harvesting, directly feeding into a sprawling system of state censorship and government surveillance. The structures of our digital world aren't always built on noble, visionary ideas. Sometimes they begin with a stolen idea, a disco ball, and a blind $32 million gamble. To see exactly how deep the surveillance network goes, click the video on your screen for a full breakdown of their data operation.